What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and I am just happy, excited to be back with another Manchester United News Roundup. Had enough news, so I thought I'd squeeze another one of these in before today's match. Don't forget, we are kicking off against Forest later on this afternoon. So, got little things to discuss with you all today. I want to get your thoughts on some of the latest and greatest news, and we'll go from there. Danny B in the house. How are you doing, my friend? Yes, please do hit that like button on your way in, you guys. It does help the channel a lot. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are on the road to 3K. Let's dive in. So first and foremost, I don't know if you guys saw the post I put out yesterday. I did throw out a link to the FA Youth Cup match. The youngsters did play Aston Villa yesterday in their own Youth Cup. Unfortunately, they were eliminated on pens, went all the way to pens. It was a spirited performance. Ultimately, if I have to be honest, I don't want to use the term lackluster, because it wasn't like it was lackluster. It just wasn't as good as what we were used to seeing from the kiddos. Villa were the better side. I'll say that. That's probably a better way to say it. Villa were the better side on the day. And really because several of our best youth players just had off days. And like I said about the men's team, like, you can get away with maybe one, maybe two of your best players having an off day. But when so many players just aren't playing as well as you're used to seeing them play, it usually doesn't bode well. And that's just kind of what happened. Cheeto did not have a great game. Both Fletchers, Jack and Tyler, did not have great games. Devaney, not great from him. Armour struggled a bit as well. Even Camison, Matata, these guys did struggle to get into the game. They were just off it. So it is what it is. I've already seen some fans raging that Cheeto started the match. I think a lot of United fans probably wanted him to come in and get more minutes today, but he probably would have gotten infinitely more minutes starting that match yesterday than today. So it's probably better for him to play, right? So it is what it is, but that does mean the youth team is out of their FA Cup. So big up if you guys caught that. I noticed that it was on YouTube, so I thought I'd throw out the link to you guys. Hopefully you were able to watch it. Let me know what your thoughts were on that. Did anybody stick out? Were you surprised at a few individuals with how poorly they played? But let me know what you thought. Because let's move on. Danny says disappointed Thwaites should have started. Yeah, Thwaites looked pretty decent when he came on. He did struggle a bit. Obviously, the pens were not great. We missed 3, and I want to say Thwaites skied his, or maybe that was a brag him off. But we just, the pens were not. They did not look super confident when it got to those shootouts. So, like Danny says, Devaney was poor. Yeah, he did not have a great match. It seemed like Villa were just more energetic, more up for it. It seemed like, especially guys like Devaney, were chasing shadows a lot and kind of just a step behind the play. So it's going to happen every now and then. Danny says, yeah, Obi did not have a great game. I thought he was getting a little too selfish to score. He was taking wild shots when I thought maybe the better option was to pass it wide and wait for the ball to come back in the box. A couple of his shots were just from weird angles outside the box, just completely wide of the mark. It's a guy who wants to score some goals. Obviously, he hasn't, being in and around the first team recently, he hasn't had a ton of chance like he did when he was scoring for fun in the academy. And so I think maybe he just wants to get back to scoring, and we want him to get back to scoring, but that's why it was better for him to play than to just sit on the bench today. So maybe he'll make the bench. I don't know, but it was not a great showing, but it is what it is. It's going to happen now and then. So thankfully the women are still involved in theirs. And then we got Europa League for us. So let's dive into the news. Again, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you did not notice, I did put out that post yesterday, but we do have these now. Made these up for the channel. I'm still waiting on my LLC paperwork to get in so we can finally officially get these going. But these will be available. I designed these a couple days ago. You can see the little trident here. But these, I thought, not only obviously this is what the channel's called, right, but because it is basically the mentality of United, right? It's us versus everyone else. Like these, even if you're not a fan of the channel, even if you're just a United fan, These are excellent shirts. So keep a lookout for these in the near future. I'll have them available in some women's sizes. I've got some hoodies, and then we've got some long sleeve t-shirts, and then I do have these available with white, also the white lettering instead. So if you guys didn't get a good idea, this is what they look like. This is what you get. This is a medium. It fits me pretty well, I'd say. But I got this sample sent because I wanted to see how the sizing works so I could make sure I could tell you guys. So if you like your shirts, kind of like how I am, like mine, not like super loose, but not like super tight, goes true to size. If you like them a little on the looser side, maybe go a size up. But I do like the way they turned out. But you guys let me know. And then once that store goes live, you guys will for sure get a mad discount on there too. So Darko says, big up, Sean. Danny, big up, Darko. Sounds good to see you again. Danny says, green, gold lettering. Yeah, I could do some of that too. So throw a little mixture of the green and gold on there as well. Good idea, Danny, as always. But yeah, I will go ahead and throw that out there. But yeah, these will be coming soon. Like I said, waiting on the LLC paperwork. Anytime you do anything like this or your own business, it's always good to start an LLC. It's just smart. It just protects you from any legal issues, really. So this, all that does is make sure people can't come after you, your personal stuff, if anything does come up. But big up. Darko says, when you say everybody, does include Glazers? Say, well, it includes anybody and anybody you want. We've been against the Glazers for a while. Keep a lookout in the future for a what if about the Glazers. I do have that big one, obviously, that big what if on deck in the chamber, however you want to call it. I got a lot of those. I've been spending the last couple of days kind of putting those videos together, so I have them all ready to go, ready to drop. For the days where I just don't have the time to sit and do a live and stuff, I'll make sure that you guys at least get something out there. So I'm not going to throw them up there like every other day or something. I'd like to spread those out, but keep a lookout for that one. We've got also, I just finished another one today on one of our Trinity statue players, so I'll let you guess what that is. But I did have fun doing the what if video. There's another one ready to go. Probably launch that sometime next week. And then we've got more and more. I've got like 10, 11, 12 of those in the chamber ready to go. So, but it has been fun kind of thinking about those kind of things. So, so moving on. So if you transfer news, strikers all over the place, right? If you gathered all the strikers in Europe together, stood them together in a big group, closed your eyes and like threw a stick, odds are you'd hit one that's been linked to Manchester United, right? We're just linked to everything, It's nothing new though. We're used to this, right? Whether it's just the media wanting clicks, whether it's players and their agents wanting to get new contracts, whatever our name is always linked. But we've spoken at length on strikers like Osimhen, Jonathan David, who I picked for my summer target, Hugo Ekitike, who we recently discussed. Now there's a new name on the list though, and that is 24-year-old Udinese striker Lorenzo Luca. The Italian striker is 6'7". He's got 12 goals, 31 appearances this season. And according to Tutto Mercato Web, Christopher Vivell has identified him as a new option for United. And apparently he's available for just under £30 million. I'm not going to pretend I've heard of this kid because I have not. It seems very rare that a 24-year-old striker in one of the top leagues in Europe would go under the radar like this, but we've seen it happen. No one really knew who Retegui was until he started banging in goals for fun this year, and he's not young. So it's interesting, though. I mean, he's huge, right? 6'7" is massive. He's an absolute unit. 12 goals, though, not something that I would look at as a needle turner, in my opinion. I think that I'd rather, again, go for someone proven like Jonathan David or something. But we have been linked. What do you guys say here? Darko says, Sean, how much time have you given to Ratcliffe? What do you mean by that? Like how many videos? How many like what if things that we're talking about? Let me know what you mean by that specifically. Darko says, Delap would make sense, but he's different. Is he different than Rasmus? He's a little different profile than Rasmus for sure. Danny says on Luca, I heard he's poo. He could be. Again, I'm not saying this is who I want. This is just the links. I don't write them. I just talk about them. But like I said, I've not really heard of this. I just looked up a little bit. And he's having a decent season, but that's literally about it. But yeah, like Danny says, I don't know much about him. Udinese is not. They're well known for kind of talent kind of coming through their system and kind of going on and doing. This is where Bruno started at Udinese, so um, there used to be a very well known kind of pipeline coming through Udinese for a lot of random players that we will all know, be familiar with. But yeah, I don't know much about this kid, but it is a name we're linked with. All I know is it's literally 6.5 foot tall. So Lighthearts, big up, man. Good to see you. Hope you are doing well on this Tuesday morning for me still, almost afternoon. Sticking with strikers though, as Darko kind of mentioned already. So this next one's coming from Laurie Whitwell. He claims that we are interested in Liam Delap, specifically Jason Wilcox, who holds a special interest in Delap because he knows him from his time at Man City. Remember, Wilcox kind of made the rounds in English football. Delap's kind of made the rounds in English football. And Whitwell maintained that this is more due to the fact that United are looking to try to build a younger squad, players who are on their first, second contracts, players who are young, players who they can develop. And probably, yes, from a financial perspective, players in the future would probably be at the maximum value after a year or so at United if they're good enough and they develop, because some of them probably will get sold for money. We have a big PSR hurdle to get over, and some of that does mean potentially selling players who aren't working out. Now, some people might not like that. I'm not saying I like it. We want to keep our players, especially our best players, especially our academy players. Not all of them are going to work out. For every, copy menu or whatever, you're going to have a Brandon Williams, for instance. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just pointing out the differences here. But then some of them, yeah, they are going to get really big offers. They are going to have their heads turned, and some of those offers are going to be too good to turn down. And so that's just part of football these days. So it is what it is. It shouldn't have to be in there. We should be in a situation where we don't have to sell. But again, make of that what you will. We all know why we got there. But in terms of Delap, in terms of the Luka guy, I just go get Jonathan David. He's a free agent. His wages aren't going to be big, and he's going to move the needle, I think, in terms of just the goals that we've been lacking for the last several years. So, Lionheart says, thank fudge the football is back. Yes, thank all the fudge that the football is back, because I was getting tired of not watching international break. Literally, the only one I watched was the first half of England under 21s versus Portugal under 21s. Couldn't tell you who played throughout the week in terms of senior teams. All I know is just Rayon Cherki had a blast against England, I think it was. It's just ridiculous. Speaking of Rayon Cherki, though, so we spoke the other day about how apparently I caused Manchester United to become interested in Arden Yashari after we were linked with him. You're welcome. I did that. Well, now Graham Bailey claims that Manchester United have asked Lyon to keep us informed of Rayon Cherki's situation at the club. We know that Cherki is pretty much on his way out the door. He's been linked to a number of clubs this year. I know Liverpool, heavily linked. Obviously, we've been linked. But now Graham Bailey's thrown his hat in and said, we've asked Lyon to keep us informed. Bailey reminds us, again, that Lyon and Cherki do have an agreement, kind of like Victor Gyökeres, kind of a little bit of a gentleman's agreement, that he can leave the club if he gets an offer of around like 20 to 25 million pounds this summer, which honestly is peanuts when you look at the kind of player that Cherki is, how young he is, the potential. You literally make 3 times that much in a year if you really wanted to. If in a year, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern, whatever, again, I'm just throwing the big club names out there. Like, you could literally make 3 times that much, maybe even 4 times that much if his development continues on the trajectory it's going. The guy is an absolute world-class player. And I feel like he's been around for a minute. He's still, just 21, 22, but I feel like he's been in and around the picture as one of the best young players in the world for like 2, 3, 4 seasons now. Just do it for that money. Pay a little bit more and go and do it, honestly, in my opinion. It just makes too much sense to not do it. It's a position that we need. He's inexpensive. He's one of the best players in his age, of his generation, coming through right now. His assist numbers right now are like the best in Europe's top 5 leagues. Like, do that now and figure the rest of the window out later, because this is too good of a deal not to do. It does not make sense to not do it, honestly. Like, I would question any club any top club if they didn't go ahead and try to get this deal done. If we go ahead and offer like 30, 35, I think this is totally worth it. You're not going to have to pay it all up front, of course, but just go ahead and get that done. Get that deal locked in now. Get him in. You've got your tens figured out. He can play kind of in that wider area. Similar position to like what Garnacho is doing. You know, you're operating kind of in that channel, but you have that freedom to kind of drift in and out, come in, create and things. He's excellent player. Lionheart says 25 million. What are we waiting for? Sign him up ASAP. Exactly. It just makes too much sense. But yes, we have been linked to him. Graham Bailey says have asked Leon to keep us informed. I like that. I like the links that the kind of players we're getting linked with, these class players who are younger. Like even Cherki and Yashari, if you got them both, would cost maybe like 50, 60 tops if you paid a little more to kind of beat out other clubs. Getting two potentially future, like, I don't want to say world class because I feel like that's thrown out there, but two class midfielders, two top young midfielder players for less than 60 million is the best business you could hope to do. Those positions will be locked up for another 7-8 years if these players stick around for a longer time, almost 10 years really. You don't have to worry about it. So get it done. Figure out the rest of the window later. Danny says 100% Nippon, Yashari, Cherki, 85. Now, yeah, you get those three players, your midfield is set for a while. And then because we've got Ugarte, we've got Collier, Mainu, if he sticks around. Mainu, don't know what the deal is there. Biancheri, Fletchers, Fredrickson, Ibrahimov, Morehouse, all these guys just rolling on through. I like that. But again, too much sense for us not to go and do it. So just go ahead and get it done. I don't see what the problem is, honestly. Lionheart says, we got both. Where would Nippon fit? Nippon, so we've done a couple scouting reports. I did a whole video on Nippon. And depending on opposition, depending on just where maybe, like, for instance, Amorim would see him fit. So Nippon plays as a left-sided 8 at Rosenborg, but he gets a lot of his touches just outside the opposition box in that final third. So I think he could play either in the pivot or in one of those 10 roles if you needed him to. I think that it depends on the opposition sometimes. Maybe if we're going to have a little more of the ball and maybe the opposition's midfield isn't as physical, or maybe in like Europe, for instance, where overall in like European competition, it's not as physical as like the Premier League. He could play in a pivot, but if you're up against some stubborn defenses, maybe you want him a little bit more advanced. He could play, and that's the thing, versatility. It's someone even like Cunha. Cunha can play a 9, he can play a 10. And Mbuemo can play a 9, 10, he can play a right wing back. Having that versatility helps. Look at like what Mazraoui's doing right now. Mazraoui can play as one of the center backs. He can fill in at the wing back if we need him to. Having that opens up a lot of doors for us in a number of ways. Then it says Gyökeres 60, Bashali free, Juan Jimenez 5 mil window sort of. Yeah, man, you can literally. And it's not to sound arrogant, but like literally, just people like us, we're just sitting talking some of the possibilities. Like, when is the last time we've seen United do any smart business like some of what we've been discussing on the channel? Like, it's crazy. Then he says he'd probably be an 8 in his mid-20s or future. He's an 8 now, Nippon. And again, we don't really play with an 8. Probably be like what Odegaard does when our Arsenal play with like that 4-3-3, and Odegaard's like a 10/8 who's able to kind of roam around a little bit. But Nippon's very, very good. I like the way he can take the ball and on a half turn, create space for himself, progress it up the pitch. He's got a really good eye for that final ball, finding those little thread the needle kind of passes to find attackers. Yashari does similar things. He does a lot more of his work from deeper positions, but he is able to get forward with the ball and whip in some crosses. He had a couple of really good balls. He should have had an assist on the weekend, Yashari, but they didn't credit him for the assist. But he's really good at picking those long balls out. I really like Yashari a lot. Danny says, yeah, who knows? Lionheart says, maybe Nippon can go to the under-21s for a while. See, that's the kicker, because Nippon's been playing first-team football for Rosenborg since he was 15, and he just turned 18 in December. So, yes, there are levels, but I do think that if there is a difference between even like his childhood club, United, and another club maybe a little lower down, like like a Bournemouth or a Forest or something who were able to say like, no, you're a starter, I think that maybe he would prefer to start. But again, I would put him in there. It just, we're gonna have a lot to. Amorim's gonna have to have a good look at the squad, because some of the players that we have in the 10 role might not be here. They might not be best suited for that role, things like that. And if we can improve on them and the opportunities there, that's again, this is why I don't envy Amorim, director of football, Wilcox, all these guys, because it's big decisions and you risk missing out on some things when you make these kind of decisions. So we'll see what happens. I gotta adjust this chair. This chair is just a little too low. There we go. Sorry if I smashed the mic with my chest there. Moving on to some random news. Did you guys see these comments from Isco after Real Betis win on the weekend? He's talking about Antony. Obviously, it was a little bit of a joke, but it's like he said that if they wanted to keep Antony, they're going to have to crowdfund that transfer. It's ridiculous. I've seen some people go in and say like accuse him of like pleading poverty and whatnot. Like, yeah, Betis have netted a lot of money in the last couple seasons from sales, about 100 million in the last 2 summer windows. So they don't need to crowdfund. They've got the money. The problem will be wages, but then that's up to Antony. Just take a pay cut. Like, I've never understood it. People say always like these players are on this much money. They can take a pay cut if they want to play versus getting paid. And that tells you more about the player than anything, in my opinion. I'm not going to begrudge anybody for wanting to get paid. I get it. But at the same time, it does show you priorities. I said that about Ronaldo when he made his little interview with Piers Morgan. Like, where he goes next is going to say a lot about where his priorities lie. And he chose the Saudi League. So, but sticking with Antony, so Peter Hall reported this morning that United are confident of getting at least 40 million for him this summer. Obviously, he's doing pretty well on loan. Same with Rashford, who bagged a brace in Villa's FA Cup match on the weekend. And that's what you want from your loanees. You want them to do well. You want them to get you some bonuses from performances, bonuses from progressing to the next round of competitions, for scoring. And even if that club doesn't end up buying them outright, like Villa, if they don't end up buying Rashford decides he doesn't want to go to Villa, it just boosts their value a little bit. So, he could go for more than the 40 million that Aston Villa have an option to exercise. So I don't have a problem with that. But again, on Antony, Pete Hall claims that there's interest from Atletico Madrid. There's interest from a few Italian clubs for Antony as well. I mean, this is not the first United winger that we've seen linked with Atletico Madrid, though. If you remember, they were reportedly linked to Alejandro Garnacho, which is where their academy is where we brought Garnacho from as well. So it sounds like maybe Atletico are looking for wingers. Obviously, Griezmann's not getting any younger. What is he, like 32, 33 now, Griezmann? They've got a couple of older players at Atletico. And so it sounds like they can be in for a little bit of a refresh. Some of those guys, like even Marcos Llorente, is like 30 now. Who's the Argentinian wide player? He's like a striker now. He's a little shorter. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Even Rodrigo de Paul, a little older now. So starting to see a little bit of a refresh over there a little bit. Yeah, like Lanhard says, either way, it could be an exciting window. I hope it is. It needs to be. It's a very important window for United, for Amorim, for Ineos. We have to make sure we're able to get rid of the players that we need. We have to make sure that we're not spending all summer waiting to do business because we can't afford it until we sell players. We have to get some of these deals locked up, and we have to be creative about this. Hopefully we're looking at the free agencies. Hopefully we're looking at players who are entering final year of their contracts. And hopefully we're looking at situations like this Cherki. Remember, I talked 3-4 months ago almost about Cherki's situation, Lyon's financial situation with how much debt they're in, the sort of punishment they could be facing, their stadium situation and all that. And there's loads of opportunities. Now, we've already seen Lyon offload a couple of big names like Kakare, for instance. We have to move quickly in those, because the more and more money they get from those kind of players, the less and less likely they're going to be super quick to sell. Cherki, we need to be more proactive and more quick about that kind of stuff. Jay, welcome back. Says losses everywhere. It's crazy how we spend big money on signings and then sell them for pennies. Yeah, we've done that for years. Pogba, we've lost for free twice. Di Maria, I think we kind of broke even on. Lukaku, all that stuff. We're not very good at selling. Hopefully, with this new regime, this new structure involved with guys like Wilcox, Barada, hopefully we will see that change. But again, it's one of those things where we can hope, and the proof will be in the pudding, right? In the eating. Leonard says it feels like Griezmann has been around for decades. I was so bummed when he chose Atletico Madrid over, or sorry, Barcelona over United. I was really, really frustrated. I love Antoine Griezmann. I thought that he was such a good player at that time. I still think he's a good player. He's an excellent player. I thought for sure he was a shoo-in to come to United, and then he changed his mind. I can't believe that there was a whole documentary about that transfer decision. And I can't remember where it is. It might be on Netflix, but it's called Le Décision, which I thought was a little out there, but interesting stuff though. But yeah, 40 million for Antony, is that too high, do you think? Is that wishful thinking on our end, or you think that based on his performances this season and maybe some of the interest, that sounds pretty doable? Whether or not that's realistic, like that's what his actual value is, do you think that that's something we could expect to get after what we've seen from him since he left in January? I'm still iffy. I just need to get him off the books because it's those wages that are killing us. 200K a week is rough. Sticking with exits though, so obviously Christian Eriksen, we know he's going to be leaving as a free agent this summer, but he could return to one of his former clubs, and that is Ajax. So in an interview with ESPN, Ajax's sporting director, his name is Marin Bielker, confirmed that they are interested in Eriksen. He is on their list of players that they're looking at. He said he is one of the players who has performed fantastically with us in the past that we're thinking about. Didn't I say this like last year that I could definitely see Eriksen going back to Ajax? I think he should go back to Ajax. That's where he joined Spurs from all those years ago. I think that he could and should go back. I've been saying it for almost a year now. Ajax have struggled since Ten Hag left. They could really use some experience, some leadership in that dressing room and on the pitch. Eriksen, I think, is a calming presence both on and off the pitch. He knows the club. He's been there. I think that could do wonders, I think their sporting director listed Tadic as well as one of the players. Blind, I think he named. It will help with stability right now because they have been just in. I think they went through a handful of managers the year after Ten Hag left because they just struggled. Conveniently, that was the only year that Arne Slot was able to win the Eredivisie with Feyenoord. But hey, what are you going to do? Leonard says, I think teams will still feel like Antony will be a gamble. And some teams might think it's a gamble worth taking. It just depends on the side. I think that he's definitely found his level in La Liga. I think that's where Antony can shine. I think that suits his style of play. And I don't have a problem with that. There's nothing wrong with that. The same with Sancho. Like, not everyone is cut out. Or João Felix, for instance. Like, I forgot that João Felix went to AC Milan on loan. Like, no one seems to want him now. And sometimes this is a side effect of the transfer fee initially. He's bounced around between Barcelona, Chelsea, now AC Milan. The guy's just gone everywhere. I think didn't he go back to Atletico Madrid for a little bit too? And it's unfortunate. Now there are so many United fans who are like, bring him to United, bring him to United. And I'm like, I just don't think he's cut out for the Premier League. And it is what it is. It's not just because you're not cut out for the Premier League doesn't mean you're a horrible player. Because there are Premier League players that do really well in England who might not go do well in other leagues too. Sometimes it's just a league thing. So interesting stuff though. But yeah, could you see Eriksen going back to Ajax? I've been saying it for a while. I think that suits him very perfectly. Either Ajax or to me like the Belgian league or something. Go to like Club Brugge, go to Antwerp, Anderlecht, something like that, and do well there. I think that he could do very well. So Lionheart says, yeah, Eriksen can replace Henderson. Yeah, he'll go to the Saudi league first and then go to Ajax, right? That's the Henderson path. Same with Steve. Is Steven Gerrard still managing out in the Saudi league? What a freaking tool. Danny says, no thanks to Felix. Yeah, I'm over Felix. Felix's biggest issue is the money that Atletico Madrid paid for him. And again, it's kind of like the Harry Maguire or the Antony thing. Or Jack Grealish for that matter. It just puts. And again, it's not his fault, but at the same time, that's what's always going to follow him around. That's just part of it. So you notice no one mentions that though. They want to mention that about Antony. Let's move on to something I promised you the other day, but then didn't have time for. But I said I'll do one the next video we do. So thankfully we got to squeeze this one in today. because we're back with a little mini scout report. It's been a minute since I've done the scout reports, right? So let me pull this guy up on the screen here, and we'll get stuck in here. Yeah, don't forget to hit that like button for me too, and subscribe to the channel. The scout reports too. There's a membership perk where you guys can get involved in the scout reports. They do require a little bit of time, a little bit of research, but you can have a voice in some of the players that we see. But let's take a look at Volodymyr Barashko. So we would probably pronounce his name Vladimir, but it's Volodymyr Barashko. Plays for Dynamo Kiev, center defensive midfielder / midfielder, mostly because he's very good at progressing the ball. He can carry it, he can pass. Still 23, so he's a really good age, kind of like that Ugarte age. But the guy is an absolute midfield general. He is an absolute commander of that midfield. He's a force of nature. Interceptions, mentality, like you see, passing, physicality, work rate, stamina, tackling, his composure on the ball. He's got it all. He's the 8th top-rated player in the Ukrainian Premier League this year. He's got 3 goals, 1 assist from that deep pivot position. And he averages his dribbled pass numbers. He's dribbled past literally less than once per 90. It's like 0.9 per 90. So you don't get back past him. He's tall. He's lanky. He's really good at kind of getting his foot stuck in, forcing people off the ball, but doing it like tactily. Like he's not always fouling everybody. He averages nearly 5 interceptions per 90, which was actually double what the highest interceptions per 90 was in the Premier League last season. So again, I'm trying to compare his numbers, what I'm seeing now, to what we've seen in the Premier League, as you know, if this player can be a good fit. Obviously, people will say it's the Ukrainian league, but again, you can only play who you're against, and so it is what it is. He was the man of the match in Europa League this year against Victoria Pilsen as well, because he had an excellent match. He's been man of the match a couple of times. He had a goal and assist earlier this season in his league as well that earned him man of the match. Very defensive. This guy, obviously, he's kind of that old school kind of number 6, but it's not. He's old school with a modern twist because he can actually pick a pass. He can carry the ball. He's able to drop deep, receive the ball off his defenders, and then he can build the attack, that first phase of attack, by carrying the ball or finding a teammate with a switch of play or a long ball over the top. I think if you want to look at players who are similar, maybe like a Mats Beefer, maybe like a Morten Kjolman, maybe like a prime Casemiro. Like if Casemiro was a little more composed in his outside of his own area, able to drop deep and receive the ball, that would kind of like be what you see a little bit more of, maybe like a Hackney a little bit. But think of a Hackney that sits a little deeper and doesn't wander around so much. But he's already drawing interest. Torino had her bid rejected last year. Wolves were in for him after Mario Lemina asked to leave, but apparently their president reportedly rejected the deal. Benfica were interested in January as well, so he's already getting interest. If he's going to Benfica, he's already 23, so he's already kind of getting to that prime age. If he goes to Benfica now, he could be sold in a couple of years for big money. But I do like this guy. In the Europa League, again, I can't find like the percentiles for the Ukrainian Premier League. They just don't exist. But in the Europa League, which obviously he played about 8 matches, he's top 5% for interceptions, top 20% for successful take-ons as well, and top 30% for aerials won. So the guy is a physical force. He can pick a pass. He can progress the ball from in that first phase of play, and he can carry it as well. He's a very good young modern number 6. Again, not just a straight up destroyer, not quite the deep line playmaker, but somewhere in between. Think of like Declan Rice when he was at West Ham. Not so much the Declan Rice now at Arsenal, where he's operating a little bit more advanced, but Declan Rice at West Ham, where he's got a little more freedom, but he can pick the pass, he gets physical, that kind of player. Danny says, I think I watched the comp of him a few weeks back. Yeah, this guy's been on my slides for him since early February. It's just been hard I have a whole list, so I'm trying to go through them one by one. Obviously, I had to update some of the numbers since as well, so I had to scramble to do that today. But yeah, very good young midfielder, entering in the kind of that good age where you're kind of starting to see really what he's about. Haven't seen too many players come through the Ukrainian Premier League. The last one that I had my eye on, coincidentally, did come from Kiev. I think he's at Girona now, but that was Viktor Sigankov, red-headed winger who used to play for Kiev. Obviously, we saw a lot of players come out of that Ukrainian league in the last couple of years for obvious reasons. So, but he is a good young player. I suggest go checking him out sometime if you can. You'll really like what you see, I think. Jay says, I wish fans would just walk in and submit a list of players. It would be great if we could send a letter. Let's just send a letter. Maybe I'll just tag United with a couple of these scouting reports or a couple of my summer rebuild vids, and maybe that'll get me hired someday. Probably not, but there's good players all over the place, and that's a big reason why I do these scout reports. It's not me trying to come across like I have this like extra sensory perception when it comes to good players. It's just that and I get it. Not everyone has the time or the interest to watch a lot of other leagues, and that's fine. I probably have spend an unhealthy amount of time watching football from other leagues, but there's so many good players out there. And I think, and maybe this is a bit of a pride, but it is cool to see players that I've been talking about for a while start to get linked with big clubs, or in like Yashari's case, start to get linked with United. Like it's pretty cool to see that, okay, maybe I wasn't completely off the mark with some of these players. Some of them do. Some of them they just go on and they struggle. That's part of it too. But I do like looking around at players. I do like looking at Nick SofaScore, FBref, Opta, all these sites, just to look at trends, to look at who's good, who's sticking out, and maybe just keeping an eye on them for a little bit. But it's a good habit to get into if you are a little more interested in that. So closing up with a little bit of team news. Obviously, Amorim did his presser after we did our preview yesterday. Couple players, some news on them. So I said maybe we would see Shaw involved in the squad. Doesn't sound like that's the case. Sounds like that's still just a little bit too soon, according to Amorim. He's not quite ready. But good news, both Maguire and Euro are fit and ready to go, according to Amorim. So that's good. Still no Manu, still no Heaven, at least for this one. Evan's still out as well. So, and obviously Ahmad. But pretty much other than that, everyone is good to go. So it is good that Maguire and Euro are both back, because we were starting to struggle a little bit. So hopefully, that kicks off here in a couple hours. Hopefully we can be talking about 3 points tomorrow. I would love that. I would love to get back-to-back league wins for the first time this season. If we go a whole season without getting back-to-back league wins, I'm going to be very, very upset. Let me take Breshko off the screen here so we can talk a little bit. So, but yeah, good news for us. No Shaw, Maguire, Euro are back. That's pretty much going to do it. Not a super long transfer vid, but there was enough I thought it was worth making me taking some time to chat about. Plus, it was always fun to show off some merch. Keep your eyes out for this one. Of course, I will announce it, and I will hook you guys up with a little bit of a coupon code when we get that. You can set the prices for all these, and I did not make the prices very high. My wife was not happy about that, but the point is not to make money. The point is to get us all just looking sharp, getting us all out there. And like I said, these doesn't matter if you support the channel or not. These look good just as for United fans. Like, this is a cool shirt. I would buy this from a sporting goods store if I was a United fan. So, but really cool details. You can see little tridents down here as well. So keep a lookout. I'll get those announced. And then I got something else that I'm working on as well. That's a little nicer, but a little cooler. So in any case, that's going to do it for me, you guys. Thank you for stopping by. Please hit that like button for me on the way out. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. And check out the memberships if you guys want to learn how to get more involved. Don't forget that GoGoalShop link is still in there, still active. If you guys want to get some United jerseys and shirts, tracksuits, shorts, socks, whatever. If you want to go full kit, they can hook you up. But the code does give you $5 off your first order when you use it to register as well. And then, yeah, keep a lookout for these, you guys. Appreciate everyone stopping by. What is Jay saying down here? What kind of emoji is that? I don't know what that says. But in any case, take it easy, guys. Hopefully be back talking about a win later on. But enjoy the match wherever you guys are watching from. And I will see you guys on the next one. Later.